Welcome to the election forum for the upcoming GISA elections. Just to introduce myself, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Jenkins. I'm moderating this debate on behalf of Touché, the student magazine here. The reason, just to kind of give a bit of background on that, is that we thought it would be useful to have an independent moderating group as opposed to GISA moderating this debate. In terms, like it is the first time that we've done this, so bear with us. We'll try and make it run as smoothly as possible. In terms of tonight's proceedings, we've got 4 positions which are being elected in the next coming days. We've got events coordinator, PhD representative, master's representative, and president. In terms of the outline for tonight, we're going to start with events before moving on to PhD, masters, and then president. Each candidate will have a chance to give a couple minutes presentation on their platform. They will also have 1 minute at the end to wrap up with any sort of final concluding points. In between those 2 sections, we'll have an open floor. Encourage everyone to get involved. If you've got questions, please raise them. Cara's going to be going around with the roving mic. So please challenge, please raise issues that you're concerned about, and we'll hopefully get a good debate going. In terms of code of conduct, really simple stuff. Just let's keep the discussion issue specific. Let's keep it respectful and positive. We will try, and if people are wanting to ask questions in French, that's obviously encouraged. In terms of how we go about the questions, I'll try and be fair, obviously, in giving each candidate an equal amount of time to respond. I might not go to each person for each question, but appropriate the questions given what people have said in their platforms, just to kind of keep things moving along. Okay, so Brittany can start us off. Yeah.
Hi, everyone. My name is Brittany Robles. I'm running for the VP of Masters. At the Institute, I serve as GISA event coordinator, president of Gender Dialogues, and a GISA representative for students with families. From this experience, I recognized key opportunities for improvement, especially in transparency, communication, representation, student support. For this reason, I really want to run for VP to represent your interests clearly and firmly to administration. I'm committed to making the students a priority here. The GISA board has completed the 2014 Master Forum Report, the annual survey, and there's so many areas of student life at the Institute that require significant work. I will follow up with administration on their promises, such as providing increased bilingualism support, such as providing an adequate number of courses for students who wish to take courses in French. I'm committed to creating change here. There's need for additional academic and career support. There's also a need for improvement in the structure, variety, and availability of the courses offered. Specifically, economics students don't have enough electives. ARS students have very different structure and availability of assignments between MIA and MDev. And there's a significant regional gap in courses. There's practically none on Latin America. And I'd really like to bring this up to administration, academic administrators in the upcoming year. There's also a better need for advertisement and communication of student events, and a GISA budget that is drafted in direct response to student feedback. I'm really looking forward to addressing all of these issues as your representative. And additionally, I just want to add 2 things that I'm really excited about for the upcoming year. I would like to establish a travel and research grant fund for master's students, providing small-scale grants to do work related to your thesis or to attend conferences related to your thesis. I think this would be extremely helpful, not only for, I think it'd be extremely helpful for everyone who is completing their master's. And finally, I'm committed to the student body and to GISA, and I'm extremely excited by the opportunity to use my skills that I've acquired on GISA and the institutional knowledge that I've acquired over the past semester, and to represent you, and I look forward to your questions. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Jess. I'm a first-year student of IR and Political Science, and I'm also the president of the MENA Initiative and the course representative of my first-year course, and I also go rowing with the Unis Rowing Club. What I want to do is basically 2 areas. I know that the vice president for master's program has a lot to do with the academic side. So I just want more communication between us students and the administration For instance, I know that thesis guidelines are a huge issue and that we don't really know how we have to do what, when. So I hope to clarify it there and get the information out so we all know what we have to do, how we have to do it, so we feel less stressed. But what I also want to do, and what I think is a big thing which would benefit all of us, is a social side. I've seen that in many areas, connection between us students is lacking. It's not only the connection between us students and the administration, but also, for instance, from first-year students to second-year students, or from disciplinary courses like where I come from to interdisciplinary courses, but also from us students here at IHEID to UNICH students. And I think we all could benefit so much more from the diversity we already have here if we connect more. And I just think this connection on communication could be improved much more. Generally, what I would like to create is just an atmosphere of more trust and more support, because GISA is a student body for all of us students. And I think if we all would feel more supported, we had a better student experience besides the academic area. How much more time do I have?
15 seconds.
All right, good. So, yeah, thanks for coming and listening to us.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mario Leandros Uber. I'm a Swiss-Colombian student in the Development Studies program, first year in master. My involvement with GISA started in the first master's forums, because also in the first assembly, I started noticing how the gap between what was advertised for this institute to be and what is actually delivered was a little bit wider than I was expecting. This is because people from this institute actually sent someone to my university to ask us to apply. And so I went there, and at that time my two issues was bilingualism and the numbers of students in the interdisciplinary programs, and I participated with significant input to the first semester's Master Forums report. But in the meantime, I have been thinking about this and many other issues we face every day at the Institute, trying to do a great learning from our masters. And I think the problem with GISA is that apart from great work on events and managing small issues, also managing the transition to the new building, is that so far we haven't had energy left to look at the bigger picture, to look at the broader transformations. And we cannot only do the short term and the small issues like a place to eat, which is of course very important. We also have to look at how structural settings in the Institute affect everyday's life and academic quality. I really think that due to the ongoing transformation...
15 seconds, Mario.
Due to the ongoing transformation, it is now the right moment to have a strong representation of students' interests. And in the last years, GISA has conquered space in the upper floors, and those space could be best put to use if we have a firmer attitude. And also, I think we have to have discussions about how academic quality depends on structural settings and governance at the Institute.
Okay. So Mario, you mentioned bilingualism. That's one of the first times this has come up in the debate today. I have a question that was submitted pre the event. Perhaps it's a good time to introduce it. Are you as candidates in favour of requiring a knowledge of French before admission to ensure the bilingual character of the Institute?
Well, this is obviously an issue in the long term, and I think for the reputation of the Institute and for the quality, not only preparing professionals, but also preparing academic personnel, it is the bilingualism, because this is really the unique selling position of this place. And even if right now not all of us feel the need to have more French, this could really make the difference, for instance, for the first employment. Like some private enterprise in Geneva who pay very well, they need people to have some interest in French and some previous knowledge. Also for academics, the French-speaking academic world is a different one, and it is an academic arrangement to have that. So I think in the long term, the Institute should do something more to have more French at the Institute. Asking the people to have French before coming here is not the only possibility. We could ask the students to learn French in the first semester and really make it a necessary condition for graduation, which at the time is not. And at the time, this is working very well because the reputation of a bilingualism institute is out there, even if some people graduate without it. But this cannot work in the long run, so we may be losing this unique selling position. And so I think some drastic measures should be adopted.
The other candidates like to comment?
Well, to be honest, I'm one of those students who came here with absolutely no previous knowledge of French. I never had a single lesson in my life. And I know how hard it is to learn a new language, completely new, and feeling a bit forced to do so. But I've also been one of the students who really tried to work hard. But it's not easy, and I'm by no means on a level where I can understand academic French. So as long as it's not a precondition that we have to speak French, I don't think we should push and force us to do courses in French because it's just not working. So I think two things should happen. Students that come here with a little or no knowledge of French just need to be more supported. The French lessons we had last semester were just not good enough of the quality, and it was not enough of time to get us up to a level where we could understand classmates actually speaking in French. And it's obviously still not fair on those classmates that prefer to speak in French when they sit in front of us and we just don't understand. And that's really uncomfortable, I think, for all of us that don't speak French. But I just think those students that don't speak French need more support, because I believe all of us would like to speak French, because it's often a condition for jobs or internships as well. But I also think it's vital that the Institute is offering more courses in French, because some departments just don't have enough courses. So I think it just should be encouraged more that we learn French, and also that more activities are sponsored that happen in French.
If we could just keep applause to the end, so as not to break it up.
Okay, so bilingualism is one of the main reasons why I came to the Institute, and I was really looking forward to coming out fluent in French. And it's been extreme disappointment to me over the first semester, the support that's provided for students that come in without prior French knowledge. I think Mario is completely correct that there needs to be more of a more intense program for students that don't have knowledge of French or are at a low level of French. I think the 3-week summer course was pretty much everyone that went through the 3-week Bell summer course, aside from the quality of the Bell school and all of that was clearly communicated by the students. Those courses need to be more, 3 weeks is not enough. So it either needs to be a long summer course prior, or you need to make a commitment to bilingualism and have a requirement when people come in. There needs to either be support for students that don't have French knowledge or the requirement. And I think that I want everyone to succeed here, and I think every student that doesn't have significant French knowledge really feels like they're missing out on something, missing out on an opportunity, not only professionally, but also academically. And the other thing is, as vice president, I would definitely support the feedback that's given from students. Now that the Institute, GISA has worked really hard to get a French teacher, we've advocated to eliminate the Bell contract and have a French teacher that we can control the curriculum and get with student feedback on what they want to learn so that they can make their daily life easier in Geneva, but then also have them get to a point in their studies where they can understand and communicate in academic French. I think that's really important. And regarding the bilingualism in the course offering, the problem currently is that without a commitment to bilingualism, without giving students the support that they need to have necessary level of French, they're not signing up for the French courses. And it's understandable because why would you want to take a course you don't fully understand? And so there needs to be a commitment there to French, because otherwise what happens is not enough people sign up for the courses, and this happened last semester, where professors they don't want to give courses in French because they know students won't sign up, and then we had 2 courses that were dropped last semester, like completely eliminated, and those students that signed up, there were a couple students in the class who wanted to take the course. And so they should have every right to take that course. And I think with increasing support for students, we're going to find more and more enrollment in those French classes. But that's necessary. The commitment to bilingualism is not there.
Does anyone have any reactions, first of all, or other questions? Yes? Yeah.
So I suppose this is, it's not a reaction, but I have got an observation, a comment, followed by a question for all 3 of you. I think knowing, as a second-year student right now, knowing how much GISA has progressed over the 2 years and knowing the history of GISA beforehand and how much it's made progress with administration, it's clearly important to be in contact with administration on good terms. And having read all of your platforms, I've noticed that in the case of Mario, you said that you need to take a tough stance on administration, and that clearly the interest of the students is not, they don't have an interest for the students. Aside from the fact that I disagree, having worked closely with administration for the past 5 months, I'm curious as to how much experience you all have working with administration in terms of knowing institutionally how they have decisions, make decisions, and how they move forward. And just the observation part of it, we just had, preface that I work for Career Services, we just had a Career Services event where you had a chance to speak with 2 of the key decision-making members of administration, and in fact, only one of the candidates up there, Brittany, showed up to this event, and this was a big chance to make steps forward. So the question again is, how would you use your knowledge of the administration, if any, to move forward and make good, productive strides forward and not combative strides forward?
Okay, so the question is on your knowledge of the administration, and a wider question as well, perhaps on your management style and how you would approach working with the administration on difficult issues. The question was directed mainly at Mario in terms of your platform, so do you want to start us off, and then we can hear comments from Jessica and Brittany as well.
First, thank you all for highlighting this issue, because I understand my role here basically for giving the student body a choice about what kind of GISA they want to have. And I understand that the conciliatory approach has its own merits, but in my opinion, it has also its own limits. We can, for instance, think about a poster board. I think a poster board is very important for the life of a university, because it's a space where you get to leave some sign without asking permission for anyone or to anyone. It's a space where you can build community. It's a space where teachers communicate with students and the other way. And the administration has not been able even to put a poster board for us so far after 9 months in the new building. And this is really only the smallest example. Then why I think I could be I'm in a good position to talk to the administration. Well, I may not have this intimate relationship with them so far, but I know many people in the upper floors, they are still from the old guard, so I think they prefer to be spoken to in French, which I can do very well. I'm aware about how the institutions in Switzerland are organized, and how the funding of this institute comes from, which part of the canton, the confederacy, and so I don't think I'm entirely unqualified, just because I haven't worked with them so far.
Okay, so to the other candidates, Mario has said that the conciliatory approach has uses, but it also has limits. And would you agree or disagree, or directly related to the question, what would you, your position on a tougher management style with GISA be?
All right, so I don't know the structures that detail with whom is GISA speaking, so I guess I would need to build up on those structures and see how it goes. But considering a tough stance, I don't believe in it. I don't believe that if I go to the administration and I play the tough girl, that they will be cooperative. It won't work, because that's when people just block. So all I can do is tell you of a little experience I had just recently regarding how to do the master thesis, what we have to do when. Because we don't have information about that besides the official guidelines that are hidden somewhere. So what I did was just I went and met the departmental officer personally, and I explained to her why it's important for us to know those things, and that I would think that all of my course will actually benefit from that information. And she agreed to do a Q&A if people are interested, and eventually what we did is she sent me an email with details and I sent them further to the other students. So I think if it would go to anyone and I play the tough one and I demand stuff, I won't get anywhere. I need to explain to them why it's important to us and how they will benefit from giving us information or cooperating with us.
Okay, so I think it definitely needs to be a combination strategy. So you need to have the diplomatic role because you're working within an institution that requires diplomacy. But at the same point, you need to be firm about particular issues. It is absolutely ridiculous that we don't have a poster board after 9 months of lobbying, and just that the administration also forgot, because I reminded them 3 times this week, why have we still not had this poster board? And 2 weeks prior, and it's just you learn after time in a position on GISA, you learn there are specific people that you need to go to and then go to the next. It's just such a bureaucracy, but you have to know that line of fire almost, just so that you can get to the right people that will deliver on particular tasks. And I really think that my institutional knowledge will be extremely useful to the board coming into the upcoming year. The other aspect is that there also needs to be, from working with administrators this year, I feel like there needs to be much more of a dialogue between the student body and the administrators. In previous years, they had sort of open forums like this where you would have administrators here and students would come and voice feedback. And I think that's really important because a lot of students have said over this semester, why do I need you as a liaison? Like, I understand the importance of soliciting feedback from the student body, of getting the targets that are most important to the majority of students. But how come I can't, as a student here, be my own representative and have a conversation with administrator? And I completely agree. And so I think I really want to open up these open forums for next year, to have an open forum with all of the administrators. You can ask whatever questions you want. And I think it's really important to have this dialogue, because also the administration feels as though we only come to them with our complaints, which our complaints are important and student support is necessary. And there's really not enough student support right now. But it's necessary to have that diplomatic feature of our approach, because they need to understand that we're grateful for the support that we have given them, but that there's serious need for improvement. Just for an example, like in the student space, after I voiced a concern to an administrator, he said back to me, so do the students like the space? Do the students like this new space that we've given them? Because, they could have had the opportunity to rent it out to another organization. I don't think that would have been fair at all, but they were excited to hear our feedback about particular things that they did. So I think that we really need to have that dialogue, because there's serious need for improvement, but we also need to have the diplomatic stance as well.
Damien?
Thank you. So can I have just a brief observation to what was just said and then a different question? Yeah. So we asked you about the conciliatory versus more sort of confrontational approach. And if I understand correctly, what Brittany just said was that we should show the administration that we're grateful for the sort of amount of support we already receive. Although I feel like all of us, fee-paying and scholarship students alike, are demonstrating our whatever appreciation for the Institute has by being here and by continuing to pay fees, etc. So I feel like our complaints should necessarily be the top thing we communicate administration about. So am I just understanding you correctly?
It's not necessarily that I think that we should be be overly thankful and voicing that over our concerns. I'm saying that has the diplomatic standpoint that you take can be thankful, but also firm in the suggestions that you make. So it's all about, when I've had this experience with administrators, it's always about a negotiation style that you know how to negotiate with particular administrators. You tell them the updates about the things that they helped you with the prior suggestions. Tell them updates, and then say, but there's serious need for improvement here, and students are voicing A, B, and C as their concerns, and it's necessary.
All right, thank you. Sorry, I didn't mean to make that a separate question.
Are you going to go on to another question,
Yes.
Damon? Well, perhaps just to hold it 1 second, because Mario looks like he's going to come off his chair here if he doesn't respond.
I also would like to react to Brittany's explanation about how she sees the balance between conciliatory and be firm. And I think one of the things that GISA members from the GISA board should stop is explaining the constraints that the institute administration face. I mean, we all know that they are humans. We all know that there is limitations, but I think they are old enough to do this explaining directly to us, and this should not pass through GISA. So I think GISA should more be a representatives of our interests and not just this third element in between.
Thank you. Damien, do you want to ask your question?
Yeah, no, Jessica had...
Well, I guess it's just important to give them feedback about the positive things too, to say, listen, that went actually really well and that worked well for us. So I guess I don't even find it wrong to name it grateful, because things that do happen and that work well for us students, I think we need to give them the feedback and say, that was a really good idea, or that worked really well. Like, those water fountains are amazing, cheers for that, but the sparkle went away a little bit lately. But I think, I don't know, sorry, but it's an issue for me. But I mean, when I say communication and connection, then obviously it goes both ways, not only negative, but also positive. And I think, especially recently, we had a lot of conflict, not only in the student body, but obviously also with the administration. And I think more communication and connection could resolve conflicts before they even happen, or resolve them much quicker.
Eric, can I ask my question now? All right. So I guess, correct me if I'm wrong, but I guess in previous elections, when the first years weren't here, there was a lot of talk from people standing for GISA elections on how we need to have more dialogue and how we need to have more communication and how we need to have more student representation and how we need to talk to administration more. So what I'm missing personally is sort of more of an operationalization of these things in terms of how will you guys change what's been doing, but very concretely in practical terms, not engage more and listen more and dialogue more, but using verbs that mean things, if the question makes sense.
Jessica, do you want to start?
Right. I just want to be approachable to you. Instead of you having a problem writing it on the Facebook group saying, oh, there's so many high school students, or what that happened with GISA sucks. I think that's the role of the vice president for master program, that you don't need to think really long, but that if you have an issue and others have it too, you just approach me, and you know that, we take it further together. And obviously also, I don't know, I believe in regular feedback sessions, for instance. I don't see a problem of saying, once a week or once a month, we do this session, and who is interested and wants to voice something can do so, and maybe bring the administration in as well. Who wants it?
Okay, so to respond with specific targets that I have specific goals for next year that I'm really excited to implement and really excited to address with administration. One of them is to push the administration to fundraise for scholarships. I know that the PhD candidate was talking about the loss of scholarships, and what happened actually was that when the institutes merged, there was a 4-year agreement where it was a 4-year fund, essentially. And after that, it was a one-time scholarship fund that was given just for the institute when they merged. And we lost about 81 full tuition scholarships as a result when that contract ended after 4 years. And so this kind of thing needs to be brought up to administration and say, you know, this happened. It happened and you didn't put much attention to it because you didn't want to draw attention to the fact that you're potentially not fundraising enough to make up for that loss. And I think that kind of thing really needs to, I want to push for their fundraising targets. I want to know that I want them to publish their fundraising targets and to publish the outcomes and to say which people on their staff are working toward donations, private donations, funding for scholarships, because there needs to be action in that sense. Another thing is I want to establish a communication platform between GISA. One idea is that from the GISA feedback that we got is that it doesn't seem like there's a platform right now where you can voice your concern, and then we can update you right underneath it exactly the actions that we took, which administrators we talked to, the actions that we took on part to address your concern. And I really want to do that along with, and I think that can be on the same platform with a blog of what GISA members are doing each week, the tasks that they're working on, the projects they're working on, so you can have transparency and understand exactly which issues they're addressing, because a lot of the work is not shown to students, and that's a serious lack of communication. So the whole student body needs to know exactly what GISA is doing to address their concerns. Another thing is I really want to do a survey of specific course suggestions to bring up to the administrators, academic administrators, because, you know, just saying, okay, economics students are dissatisfied with the lack of economics electives. Just saying that is not going to create, I want to know exactly specifically, what do you think from your job experiences, from your interviews experiences, from your academic experience here? What is lacking? Like, what specifically is lacking? And so I'd really like to get that and then bring those to administration. So those are a few of the things that I'd really like to address in the upcoming year.
What concerns my plan of action, if I get elected, it would be following. First, I would continue my, so far, just explorative research on the history of this institute, its institutional embedment in the Swiss educational system, how the personnel politics affect the academic quality of the institute because of the changing teachers and their positions or tenures here or lack thereof. Then I would like to have the masters forums as they have been done so far, but with a little bit, with two innovations. First, the master forum should not start anew each semester, but we should connect it better to the past master forums. And second, a little bit a more firmer follow-up. So I should not be satisfied when the people in the administration informally agree on improvements. I want to have I would like to ask them to have a more formal commitment. I would like them to sign when they commit to something and not just let GISA say that the institute committed to. And third, we should also take into consideration, I'm not necessarily saying enacting, but take into consideration other lines of actions. It could be the human poster board, which we had in the past weeks, was very good, very well received by other occupants of these buildings, but it could be also more radical things, such as trying to speak directly with the foundation council, with the board of the foundation who owns the institute, so to speak, and take into consideration the possibility to go public with our grievances if they get systematically ignored years and years over and over. So that's the concrete stuff.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions?
As far as questions, I'm going to go Tara, Vera, and Mukna. Those are the three people who have so far.
I'm conscious that we don't want this to run on all evening. Would people be okay if we took all three questions and then you can choose points to address in them.
Also make it an actual question, not a comment, but an actual question.
So you all three addressed the, thank you for applying. You all three addressed the important topics of accountability and transparency, which is all great things, but I would like to ask about reliability and, for instance, your outside commitments and how much time, it's a classic question, how much time you're willing to dedicate to this position, which is a demanding position. Thank you.
Did you two others, Cara? Yeah.
Yep.
Going back to the previous comment on the whether or not we have access to GISA and how the rest of the student community should be involved in all the events and all the complaints. Which one of you would be for and which one's against a little sort of like a button or two buttons on the actual GISA website, like at the very beginning on the top, which would be one for complaints and one for posting events. And that would be everybody who has an idea for an event can post it and everybody can see it. Who's for and who's against that?
Hello everyone. I recently got admitted in the Executive Masters program here. Good to see a very active student association here. Mine is not a question, rather a request. I see no representation from the Executive Masters on the student association, and I really want to request you to see a representation for Executive Masters program in the association, because we also come up with a lot of we also need a lot of support. There should be a representation for the interests of Executive Masters students in the association. I really request you to consider, whoever is going to be elected as a president here. Thank you.
Okay, so we've got 3 questions. Firstly, on reliability and how much time you can dedicate to this role. Second question on whether you change the website into 2 sections for events and complaints. And the third question on Executive Masters, I guess that is in some ways more of a constitutional issue, but we could definitely ask the question, how could you better incorporate support for students from smaller disciplines that are maybe less well represented in these sort of forums? Brittany, do you want to?
In terms of the amount of time that I have to dedicate to the position, I'm not planning on having an internship next semester, and I'm planning on passing along, not representing gender dialogues next semester, so that won't be a commitment that I'm worried about conflicting. And I don't have a job at the current moment, and I was going to make a commitment to either running for GISA or having a job and an internship, so it was one or the other for me, and I'm really dedicating the time for the full upcoming year to this position. In terms of the button for or against on the GISA website, there is definitely there's a need for a complaint section or a comment section for GISA. Yeah, I would support the open communication of events between students, not giving equal opportunity for students to post events on the website. And there's definitely need for a comment, complaint, suggestion box. So I would support that initiative. In terms of Executive Masters, I completely agree. It's an institutional issue that we could maybe address as a board in the upcoming year to talk about having a representative on the board for Executive Masters. I'm sure they have concerns that are distinct from the ones that we're facing in our programs. So I would support that initiative.
Regarding the time commitment, I don't have any internship or part-time job either, and if I'd be elected, I would say that is my job, and I'd be sticking to it full-time. Regarding the complaint button, I think it's a good idea to facilitate something like that, but I think it shouldn't be just a button. I think GISA should then facilitate some form of discussion forum as well, so that those comments that are made and those complaints can be then discussed with other students away from an individual Facebook group where not all students actually see it and might know that this is an issue for some students. And regarding the executive masters, I'm aware of that this is an issue that we don't really have much contact with them, especially with those courses where the students aren't here in Geneva or aren't here full-time in Geneva. And I think GISA should work on somehow including them as well in the communication and conversation, because they are part of the institute as much as all others of us are.
Concerning the time availability, I'm sadly unemployed. On the other side, the person in this position right now, she had a part-time job, and she did anyway her job as a VP very well, so this should not be the first concern. Concerning the button on the web page, I think in the GISA board, this would be rather the domain of the communications director, so I feel like I'm not the one who has to answer this question, and because we have this. We share the work across the different domains in the GISA board. Only the bigger decisions are discussed in plenum. And I would have my opinion after listening to the communications director. Concerning the executive masters, I think this is a very important thing which has to be addressed in the discussion about the power dynamics in the institute and about the independence of the institute and the academic quality of the institute. Is what is happening with these executive masters, who are they for, and what is the kind of people who gets admitted to them. And I must admit my research on that specific issue just started. There has been some questioning about this executive master in oil and gas leadership, which seems to be at odds with the declared goal of favoring sustainability. So I really think this should be a topic to be addressed in the broader discussions about the future of the Institute and how this is affecting right now our students' life. But I haven't started with that.
I think that we need to end this discussion because of time constraints, but would each candidate like to give a 1-minute closing statement? Jessica, do you want to start?
All right, thanks for listening. I know I don't know many of you personally, and I hope that when you vote, and I hope you do vote, you vote for the person you think has the best plan of action. But yeah, to summarize, I just want to connect us students more. I want to connect us with the administration. I want to get more communication flowing. I want more information to be spread to the students. But I also want more feedback from students, because to be honest, any person in that position can try a lot of stuff, but really what's eventually happening is what students want to happen. So it's a lot about the input from the student body to the person who will fill the position. So I think it's important that we all know that it's all of our jobs to push for what we believe in and to voice our opinion, because eventually it wouldn't be me doing what I believe is right, Jessica, but what you really want. Who's next?
Thank you. Mario?
Well, as I already mentioned, the main objective of me running for this position is to give the student body a choice between different paradigms, different ways of seeing the representation of students, which I think through my platform and through this forum is already first goal achieved. On the other side, I really think that at this point where we have get so far with the construction of GISA, it is really the moment to use the space we have conquered, which cannot be taken back in a slightly different way than it has been done so far. So I wish next year GISA would be a little bit more combative, more detached from the administration, and we have broader discussions, because ultimately we are students, and this is the time for really try to aim at the bigger goals. And maybe later we have to compromise, but why starting right now?
So just to review, I believe that we should have a firm approach with administration, but that we should bring up all of the key points that students have raised in the master forum, in the annual survey. All of these are really important concerns that students are upset about, and they all believe they all deserve the attention of the administration. Some of them that I really want to push for in the next upcoming year is financial transparency, a good communication platform between GISA and the students, equal communication support, a specific budget for cultural events apart from social events, a budget completely drafted by student feedback, allowing for the reimbursement of travel expenses for student initiatives to bring speakers, multicultural events, budget open forums, bilingualism support, and the travel grant and research fund. And I also believe that we should utilize online voting outside of just the election process, because the student body needs to have needs to have an input in all of the decisions that affect all of us. And I'm here because I'm committed to the position. I really care, and I want to change these issues. So.
Okay. A big thanks to all of our candidates for that.